thank you all for coming for this book launch party for my friend Ephraim Scott Sommers, who is a new poet to Orlando, but I'm hoping he's going to stick the fuck around. So give a round of applause for Ephraim. So this is his book, The Night We Set the Dead Kid on Fire. It's poetry, right? Not a memoir. I've read it. This is an amazing book of poetry, and would I say that? Even if I didn't believe it? Yes, but I wouldn't be hosting this thing if I didn't believe it. So these are going for $15, and it would be a good way to kick off his tenure here, even though he's been here a little while, and I shouldn't say tenure, his time here in Orlando. So when I offered to host this shindig and for Ephraim, one of the things he pointed out right away is he didn't want it to be all about him, even though a book launch is really all about him. So we've got other readers to help celebrate this wonderful event in this wonderful space, the Kerouac House. So thank you to the board of the Kerouac House and for its current resident Shasta Grant, for letting us invade your space. So cheers. Incidentally, for those of you keeping track of my health at home, my doctor has actually prescribed a glass of red every week. So technically, this is doctor's orders. I have to drink this. If you see me refill it, well, I don't know. So, starting early for next week. Technically, I need to plan this so that I'm like drinking on a Saturday night and then it becomes a Sunday. And oh, you're all here. Sorry. I hate sobriety. It's nothing good happens. However, something tells me that our first reader, our first poet of the night, Danielle Kessinger, I'm guessing is sober, mostly. She promises nothing. Please give it up for Danielle Kessinger.
Is that good? Okay, so I apologize for the technology. I was having printer issues. So I just brought a few pieces. Two are like baby poems, and one's a little more grown up. Sorry, apparently I don't know how to use the technology. Apologies.
I want my money back.
I know. I don't know. Okay, so I'm changing the piece, I guess. Okay, so this is called You Asked Me What It Was Like to Move to Paradise, Heredia, Costa Rica. The first walk from the store, groceries hanging from my shoulders, the top of a pineapple whirring at my hip, a man jumped out of the alley, rubbed his thumb against his fingers, razor raised, demanding in his other hand. There were colones in my pocket, the sought-after small bills, but the weapon was not a straight edge. It was two thin, inch-long blades, the kind my grandfather made on the assembly line at Gillette. I pointed and said, "Verdad?" Truth and doubt, and we were in sync, my would-be robber and I, both contemplating the patience this would require of us, my removing my too thick clothing, lying down in the street, his needing to take his time, decide whether to start with legs or chest, the long canvas of stomach, make an art of cutting. He shrugged both our effort away, put the razor in his pocket, and went back down the alley, hands empty, as I continued on the street, my shoulders bearing their burden. True story. It's called Pry Apart a Single Pane. You have pulled a chair up to my desk, earbuds in, head moving to a song I can't hear. When I sit down, you unstop one ear, but leave the other to the music, and tell me about your day like we are friends meeting after school, not a fledgling teacher who has just seen the buses off, and you here to serve detention, having missed your last chance. An extra credit assignment I made up to save you this. Another hour in a place where the windows don't open, and me wishing I could pry apart a single pane, and us sitting, the quiet stark against the hustle of the day, the classroom empty except for our two echoes. I pulled a grade book from my desk to show you all your blank squares, the spaces in need of numbers. You tell me about the night before, the cops looking for a shooter, making his way through the streets, and I remember the sirens in the distance, your neighborhood seen from the highway, squat brown buildings on a plateau worthy of a castle, one road in and out, easily defendable. But while I'm thinking of castles, you are talking of cages, how the police locked the gates, trapped the shooter inside with you, your mother, and your grandmother, and I can see it as you describe, all three of you crouched, backs to the wall and away from windows, the flashing blue and red dimming until you are left to darkness. How you think maybe you should shut your eyes, listen to the bang and slam of bullets. You ask, why would they do that? Lock us in. I think we share so little except a name, and me without answers that wouldn't hatch more questions. And I say, Danielle, play me the songs you like, gesturing to the cord left to dangle. You hold it out, and I say, let's look for the poetry, for the words used, for the words left out.
Thank you, Danielle. I'm glad I'm not reading tonight. So next up is a poet who I'm excited to hear for the first time. I'm sure he's read before, just not in front of me. Malcolm Kelly.
Unlike Danielle, I cannot promise you that I am sober. Maybe I can. So yeah, I'd hate to be the guy who had to follow up that. Get out of here. It's kind of funny that Ephraim said that he wanted this to be like a celebration, like just not mainly focus on him, because I was just mentioning earlier that Ephraim, it's so hard for me to like get out and do readings. I've been doing like spoken word readings for like a while for my family. Like my fraternity brothers can't even get me to do a reading. And Ephraim has gotten me to do like 2 or 3 in just one semester alone. And like, I don't really take the time to think about what it is. I just say, fuck it and do it. But this first piece is called The Shade of Beauty. And it goes over the story, and it just kind of analyzes blackness and especially black women, because there's this girl and she's observing her reflection, hoping to pass her own inspection on this standard of beauty today. Well, she sees it anyway, because her mirror shows the truth of this ebony skin that radiates for days, but her eyes visualize this cheap chocolate skin the media has demonized yet fetishized and sexualized through lies and lines across the fields of time. And day by day, her skin lightens while insecurity tightens her lips to no longer curve upward for fear it might fatten and darken the skin she's been conditioned to think needs a rendition or overhaul of powders, mascara, and all in an attempt to see the beauty she's been trying to evolve, and it's flawed, but it's all she knows as her hair goes from midnight to gold like straw-haired media bimbos. And this need to be seen as a queen with a concealing sheen has taken away from her everyday perfection and grace, that poise that she'd held, now quelled by L'Oreal. And this girl, she's glazing and phasing over all of her natural blessings and the woman she used to be, with her childbearing hips and glass half full lips filled to the brim, speaking words of optimism and strength to change my negative perception of my body and mind, as if I wasn't created ultimately divine, just the same as the plains and plains of pale skinned brethren. And she's become this hollowed cocoon that's soon to birth a mentally crackled and shackled little black girl submitting to the meteor world as she cakes on her face pounds and mounds of color lightning of Revlon to dawn for all to see. And if she really looks in her eyes, puffy from years of tears, she will see this transition from a Nubian beauty to a more alabaster plaster in the black community, because that has become the standard of pretty today. Witty lines that hide the broken pride of all of our women in the USA. But no one hears or seems to hear the fears of the children still screaming in the mirror. I don't know. Do I have more time for another piece? Okay. I mean, I can read something. Oh. He coming around the back door. He coming around the back door. Oh, gosh. I'm honored. Should I wait for him to, like, come in there? But on the off chance it is Jamie, should I wait for him to get inside before I start? I think he's coming back around the front. Yeah. He coming around the front door. Shame.
She called it.
Hey. My special guest feature, Jamie Poissant, ladies and gentlemen. He's about to drop some mad bars. Okay, so this next piece is actually pretty fresh, like, a couple days fresh. And I wrote it for this reading. I just kind of got inspired. And this is called Tableau of a Renaissance Gay Man, or Tableau of the Real, or Tableau of the Gay. They're not mutually exclusive. That is the entire title. So let's paint this first scene. It's something seductive, smoky, a little hazy and lustful, tinged with longing. It's just me, 2 on, 3 sheets to the wind, with 4 tinkling glasses waiting to shatter my bell-like senses. Liquid gold like wasted casings. I started out looking for a shot, but I found a full clip, all this variety of liquids. And then at the bar, there you are. And hey, do you mind if I sit? And of course you didn't. Some sloppy with silky words, with your smooth talking and slick shit telling me you're a simple guy. Just a nice guy that likes to stroke lines, who got his heart nicked by a knife thing guy who didn't like that gay stuff. Take a swig, you laugh because it's kind of clever. It's going out of order. You laugh because it's kind of clever, and I don't judge because it could have been better, but you already had me at 9 inches verse top and thick, and don't talk me into anything, I'll walk myself into it. And then your hand meets the small of my back, and then you hit me with that smile. Man, fuck that smile. And then you lean and whisper in, open wide, my friend, let it slide down and in. But I don't mind the burn of top shelf because I'm feeling more like a bottom tonight anyway, or the brush of your lips while you load me with these sweet nothings. So now I'm feeling like the belle of the ball while really Carrie at the prom. And this was like Mufasa in his fall before Scar, that dawn of realization against the yawning maw of the death of innocence, purity, naivete. Fuck, it's all just blasphemy anyway. Crack my helmet, this space cowboy takes his last breath in the face of this infinite darkness. And then you can paint this second scene as something mean or jaded, mournful, frustrated, pitiful, or heavy laden. I just call it honest. And no matter the limits, this was only what it was meant to be, my best attempt at honesty, because here in this moment, a younger me sits, addicted to unrequited love or infatuation, because maybe puppy love ferments more when it sits out for a few hours. Or days, now weeks, months, while you keep dancing around words you can't say, and the easy breezy whisk of your words you can tangles me in these fingers of your scraggly branches day after day. And you can sway, but I can't leave, and you fucking don't say, while I've got this noose around my neck of words you might say one day. So finally, this last scene. Let's paint something kind of wonderful, open air and bright, with nary a care. Just me, a glass piece, and peace of mind. After one day came and went, started smelling like something past its sell-by date. And I could finally take out your two and gather all my sense. And then make like some True Religion pants on a plus size queen and split face to face while you called me out my name on that faggot nonsense you tried to label it. But I kind of liked starting to see my worth, and at best you were just a verse I rehearsed. And with so many more lines to give, and it wasn't my fault you treated a bubble-ass brisket like a $3 McRib. Thank you.
Holy shit, Malcolm. Well, I feel like linguistically and psychologically, we kind of stretched out the ether in the room. I have finished my wine, so maybe that's a small part of what I'm feeling. But, you know, this is why I fucking love poetry. And technically, like, I shouldn't be reading that much poetry. I shouldn't be writing poetry. I paid a goddamn fortune to be a fiction writer in New York City, and they were very strict. You don't go over there. And, you know, the surprises and the truth and just how much we can pound out that quickly in poetry kicks fiction's ass. So, thank you. So our next reader is Dianne Turgeon Richardson, who has been known to kick a lot of ass on my show, The Drunken Odyssey. And every time I ask her to come on, I always feel like a bumbling fool, partly because she writes shit down and comes prepared. And she's always just a little bit smarter than I remember, and I always remember her being pretty smart. Dianne Turgeon Richardson.
Is that why you let me go after the spoken word poet? Such a bummer, because I wish I could write stuff like that, and I can't. I'm also a fiction writer. Also, I can confirm I'm definitely sober. What's funny is, well, like I'm supposed to be, I'm sober. There might be wine later in the evening. I'm allowed that every now and again, okay? A woman needs something. So the funny thing is, like a week before John invited me to come do this reading, I had sent Ephraim a Facebook message. And I said, hey, great news. I'm reviewing your book for the Florida Review. So if you invited me here tonight in the hopes that I'm going to write you a good review, yeah, it's working. If anyone else has a book they would like me to review, I'm available for readings all over Central Florida. All right, so I tried to pick poems that I thought kind of went thematically with the poems in Ephraim's book, even though I'm only like halfway through it, which meant some older poems. So now I have all these lit mags, partly because I've reached the point in my pregnancy where I was like, oh, finding the old poems on my computer and printing them out is going to take more than 30 seconds, and no, I'm not doing that. So I brought books. All right, this first one is called Basin and Range. Tacked onto the loneliest highway in the middle of Great Basin Desert is a greasy spoon famous for its burgers, secret recipe Thousand Island sauce, and alien memorabilia. But more famous in my memory are the 8x10 photographs of torn and crumpled truck fenders speckled red, flipped cars, and cows that look as though they've been bombed. The dizzying yearbook of a 2-lane slaughterhouse. Amid the mangled bovines, the message, speed kills, watch out for free-range cattle. Someone grumbles, wonder if that's where they get their hamburger meat. I push back my plate, stare out the window, at the sagging trailers of Rachel, Nevada, and think of peaks and valleys. Huh? Yeah, it's my poem. Yeah. Was I not supposed to read my own work? Yeah, this is my poems. Thanks, John. Y'all better watch and make sure he doesn't fill up that wine again. All right. These are also my poems, just from an anthology. Sometimes people publish me, but usually not. Okay, this one is called Dirt. Sand Hills. The Carolina of my childhood is sand, an inland beach of struggling pines, grit in my shoes whenever I played outside, clear-cut, graded parcels of scrub oak land where vinyl siding and Bradford pears would go, Taco Bells and traffic lights and fluorescent glow, and a shopping center where pecans once grew. Red clay. There was no red clay in my childhood. It existed on the other side of the river, where my father lived with his wife, where my stepbrothers rode four-wheelers, played baseball, and sang Baptist hymns, where Lake Murray sweeps the dirt down to bedrock, and the Saluda leaves a red smudge in every backyard when it rains. I can't remember what page my other thing is on. I'm really well prepared, can you tell? Okay. Manifest Destiny. Memphis and Tupelo in an afternoon haze, Birmingham by supper, Atlanta in darkness, watching the sky lighten over Aiken County I-20. My frontier rolls along through pine barrens and sand fields, marsh grass and blackwater streams, Atlantic stretches and early sunrises, the familiar call of the eastern landscape. I've seen America, and the question is not what's out there. I pull into my mother's driveway at breakfast, and she is waiting. The air is already thick, green needles quivering, blades of centipede grass vibrating, scrub oaks dropping September acorns underfoot, the movements of a Carolina homecoming. Let's see, do I want to do this one? Yeah, let's knock it out. Okay. This is called One Night in Big Sur. We camped at the top of a bald and sun-beaten mountain to watch the sun set over a fall neap tide, and as the day spun out, the Milky Way dropped stars to us like sighs. Sitting on that steep, erratic ground, on rock gnarled by sudden tectonic shifts, we greeted the galaxy's gifts with outstretched arms, trying to ignore the nighttime doubts rumbling up from the crust. With eternity strung out above us, a mob of seismic waves from below shouted that nothing here is static, that they could do to us what they had done to centuries of Selenian rock. The sun sailed beneath the earth like a ghost, and dawn came to those living on the East Coast. Oh, and the last one is newer. And I'm reading by special request of the man of the hour. So, so this is called Pantocrator. I am the sustainer of all life, and a gaping hole blooms between my legs called pussy. My pussy is the portal through which you enter into life, the portal through which you enter into ecstasy. My pussy is more than just a place to keep warm. She was knit in the womb before I was born. Fearfully and wonderfully made, my pussy is a pioneer, blazing trails through pubic hair. My pussy knows words. My pussy has the best words. My pussy has teeth, breaks bones, cracks nuts with a clenched fist. My pussy throws shade, glorifies, oozes and bleeds at the turning of the tides. My pussy conjures demons. My pussy casts spells. My pussy requires an account for your actions on the day of judgment. My pussy struts through broods of vipers. My pussy is the den of lions. My pussy throws over the money changers' tables and then hosts orgies in the temple. My pussy beats swords into plowshares. My pussy has died 1,000 little deaths, but always rises again on the third day. My pussy is the light, the truth, and the way. No one can know the mother except through me. I am the sustainer of all life, and my yawning hole can embrace or swallow.
Thank you, Diane. So I feel punked. I feel punked because up until February, I didn't know that she ever wrote poetry, and she made it seem like writing poetry was this thing that she did only for me. And so she comes up here with published poems, not to me, just for me. And then she comes up with a pile of published poems, and yeah, I'm confused. Little did we know, no, she's has a decade of experience as a paranormal explorer. All kinds of things I'm sure I don't know. All right, so it is time for the man of the hour, but I'm going to make him stand there and awkwardly and feel nervous and anxious. So, not yet. Not yet. Yeah, I feel like Ephraim has taught me things about what's possible with poetry, and has actually tricked me into figuring out how to write this poem. I've been trying to write this poem called The Drunkest I've Ever Been for like 3 or 4 years. And I couldn't figure out how to write it. It's about the only time I drove when I shouldn't have. A lot of people. Are you saying because you've done it? Or are you saying like I know you did? We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about it. But I haven't been able to get that poem right. Partly because I just couldn't figure out the magic of the words. What needed to happen? How do I get inside that mental space? And, you can't re-drink yourself into that state to be able to write about it. It doesn't work that way. I've tried. It doesn't work that way. Not for me. I encourage you all to do your experiments at home without driving. And there's something about the way that Ephraim lets the entire fucking world into his poems. Not every single poem. But, some of his poems, he lets in so much of the world, and he has this magical way of somehow forming these Byzantine, Henry James-esque sentences that don't sound as formal and as dry and as intellectual as a Henry James sentence. However, the architecture is the fucking same. And the way that he can, through these masterful sentences, capture so much of the world that need to be in some of these poems. Some of his poems are more like a blunt object, like pow, and you're like, oof. Like I felt that one, and that was beautiful and perfect. But he has these others that are just these sustained, amazing works that, speaking for myself, I will never forget. So this is an extraordinary debut collection. That's only $15, and if you got it in your pocket or you got a credit card with a credit on it, fucking buy one. And I'm saying this so that he won't have to. Buy the fucking book. But just in case you need some persuading, here's Ephraim to read some for you.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I just realized that everybody, with the exception of my fiance, are like new friends that I've made in Orlando in the last year, and that's like a really great thing. So I'm going to read some from this book, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you to the readers, too. How about we give them a hand? They were all fucking awesome. They're all sitting in a row right there. They'll be doing shots together at the bar later, so make sure that you buy them one, except for, of course, you. Yeah. You'll have your wine later. This first poem is called "The Singer Sets the Town on Fire to Get Himself Seen." Most of these poems take place in a town called Atascadero, which is where I'm from in California. It is a farm town of about 20,000. They're made of piss and vinegar. You know how that goes. You guys know about that in the South, definitely. All right. The singer sets the town on fire to get himself seen. There are times I can only see the car crash happen in the crowd's face because I am the car crash. Times I come up short. Times I come too early, spill too much, and apologize too little. Maybe I'm only here to warm up the crowd for the headliner, but Shazam! Here I am, hip deep in the Gulf of Mexico, unafraid of alligators and burning a midnight hole in the ocean. Tonight might be a memory, yes, but my town is out here with me. I can't see its face, but I can still hear its song, and I will always be so certain with only that song to go on, that steam to wrap my fingers around like an Irish car bomb. And sure, if it is a memory, then maybe I imagine a crowd gathering on the beach, hoisting its fists to the air, the blood swelling in its biceps as I mortar the night. And puddles of warm moonlight balloon my cheeks with being seen. But listen, in today's tangible world, I'd eat broken aircraft carriers and rocket fuel and launch my Plymouth minivan and anyone I've ever known off a cliff with me into the sea to jumpstart this show and blaze a hot comet through my loneliness. It's true. And whether everybody's watching or nobody is, when I'm floating on my back in the fire, I don't have to see my town's face to know it's burning with me. This poem is called Trina and I at the End of the Earth. I hope you have a friend like Trina. Everyone should have a friend like Trina. I think you'll see why by the end of the poem. Trina and I at the end of the earth. We are barefoot and ashing and stomping our cigarettes into the bottle-capped carpet of your Cedar Creek apartment. I'm afraid of what you're capable of bringing out in me. To want nothing at all outside your living room, a glass table, a deck of cards, 8 packs of cool menthol filter kings, 80 Pabst bottles, and a Tangerine thermos with silver rum. My roommate and I across from your roommate and you. In our game of war, the winner and loser drink together, will sleep together and forget about it and laugh about it. Nothing in this room is inhuman. We did all this. You tongue my knuckles and dare me to send them through your drywall, the same care with which a sensei tapes the hands which will later be smashed into cinder blocks. We staple over our punches with red paper plates. We'll be at this all night. We've gotten good at slap boxing, at lofting our empties into the cake dish kitchen sink. When was the last time we ate, Trina? We spin and spin the thermos until everyone has tasted everyone's nipple or elbow. And Trina, I should leave you tonight. How you smear out lit matchsticks on your chin. How you pinch a dip in your lip and spit on the walls with your shark's mouth. How in your purple t-shirt and dolphin shorts you make a joke out of the whole world. No skinny jeans, no earring, no rubber band bracelet, no television or radio or cell phone, no V-necks or Vans allowed in the apartment, but I won't be able to leave you, Trina, to stop laughing as you hang your ass over the wooden balcony and shit on the sidewalk below because you don't care if the moon is looking. For Trina, right? For Trina. Where's Trina when you need her? Trina? Oh, no. You scared me, Brad. I thought that was Trina. Really? Well, maybe it's her. Maybe I'll have to go say hi. This poem is called Psalm for Saving Your Life. When I lived in Kalamazoo, I used to play cards a lot. And one night, this is a difficult story actually. One night, one of my friends that I played cards with, his name was Damien. We shook hands and he said, "Hey, like, come stay, have a drink with me." And I was like, "No, man, I got to go home." And I went home, and the next day I found out he had been like murdered at the poker room actually, and it was really, really wild. And so this poem is about it. It's called Psalm for Saving Your Life. It's about Damien. Of gunfire tonight, Damien. In 99 minutes you will go down, and so many who don't know you will begin again the ordeal of choosing how not to care about the blood. But in your hand now is half a glass of bourbon and orange, and I know your tattoos well enough to hold you. And in this casino card room and disco, the bass is a sucker punch. The poker chips are being stacked, piled up and argued over and separated, and in all this dividedness, we are holding a high five, holding half a hug for half an eyelash. And this poem is a little box with wings, and I'm always trying to fit a life inside it. So I must make meaning out of these 7 holy seconds before the 7 shots, before the 7 holes in your neck and chest, before 99 minutes melt like ice in bourbon and your body on the floor doesn't climb back into your blood and this poem and the paramedics fail you. Thank you. This next song is called Judas Home for Good. Did I say song? I meant poem. This is called Judas Home for Good Friday. When you live in a small town, you know, if you start like talking to the cops, or you know, if you write poetry and tell everybody all the fucked up shit your friends did, then you become kind of like, you know, Judas, or you know, a rat or whatever. So this is me dealing with that kind of thing. Judas Home for Good Friday. I talk shit about God, and tonight even the rain feels guilty, for it too knows now it will never be able to stop itself. The earth crumbling out of my mouth. What I know of heaven is a memory whittled from bone and oak. All I've done is woodshed my church down into a story anyone could call me a traitor for telling. My mantra is not high-minded. I've never loved anything that didn't hurt me first. I am the local rat on his knees, knuckling a front door bloody, screaming, "I still love you, Atascadero, you bitch!" While someone down the block dials 911. Let judgment come or let me back inside. Such has been my plea between self-display and confession, between a switchblade and a kiss, to those whose shoulders now hold the pews together, and to my past, in the 7 minutes before the spotlights arrive, and I go back to jail in Michigan. Michigan is like jail. Here's a Michigan poem, actually, another Michigan poem. Terry knows. Because Dawn drags you there a couple times a year. Oh, that's funny. Anyways, this one's about some things about Kalamazoo in this poem. West Nedge Avenue is in it, and that's a street in Kalamazoo. It's called Tornado Warning. Where tough and black coffee meet in Michigan for tenderness and biscuits, I fathom the cord on the oxygen tank screwed into my father's nose. Wednesday, 4 a.m., a cafe. My cough won't quit. Outside, the wind is kicking the teeth out of a birch. I count the breaths. I wheeze. I worry tornadoes into a weather, talking so much shit I don't go for head medicine. My father and mine, and 50 years of cigarette butts enough to fill an airplane hangar behind him. Butts enough to fill the Olympic pool. And though he holds up the water inside him, he is not a wall and a container for sinking things. Though there are so many shapes my hands can make him into, no metaphor is a father. I know. And now that Atascadero Lake, held for so long at the center of my childhood, has dried up, now that the creek, tell me how to save in a jar what is already gone. I'm 11 again as the music buzzes into my father's studio below me. 11 again in my room with my ear to the hardwood floor and the music old faithfuling in. 11 again, and already the end is all I can think about. The part after my father and all his mechanic buddies have lasered out the last neon leads, have thrown all they have left of their throats into the final 40-storied chorus, and can't you see what that woman's been doing to me, becomes nothing. Nothing at all. 11 again, and already I'm afraid tonight might be the last harmony, the last bridge and laughter, the last decrescendo, and I'm falling asleep in memory to their cigarette break. And I'm waking up at 33 with the cafe power cutting out all over Kalamazoo, my cough burrowing dirty into my back again, and the laughing cook escorting his tiny candles around the room like little life rafts of light. By there floating, I fumble together my one crumbling biscuit and 2 plastic jellies in a blackened cafe in Michigan, 3,000 miles away from my father's hospital bed, knowing no breakfast or band jam or bluebird in the lung sings itself back together the way I want it. And after this wind wrecking West Edge, after so many dead, do I somehow believe myself able to silence this heaviness alone, to keep my father's evaporation in California from everyone I know? Why, when asked, "How are you doing?" will a man never say, "I'm not okay"? Will instead look into his mug and mumble, "Can you warm me up, please?" I can ride this stubborn weather out right here, waiting on what could be the final phone call. And the wind redlining against the windows, the goddamn wind uppercutting the red awning onto a distant roof, and a warning, a worry, and down the road a siren, a red echo of blue lights. Stop me. I don't want to go there yet. I've been rushing my song toward the big ending my entire life. Let us riff with this a little longer, Death. My name is Ephraim. You've been fucking around with my father, but coughing up a little light, I still believe he and I, if we wake up every day despite the darkness and bend to our good work, might undermine you. And my father is a sledgehammer, a lion's claw, an arc welder, a chainsaw, an impact wrench. And my father is a bulldozer, a locomotive's lung, an upside down mountain made of wind, and he rolls on and on and on and on. Thank you so much. You guys have been so great. Thanks again, everybody, for coming. I got time for 2 more. Again, thank you. I love you all. There's plenty of wine over there, so make sure you have some. This one's called the Dirty Tangerine. It's a dance move, just so you know. To spooning out our place in the 12-story complex as we would the space inside a pumpkin. To this, our promise in pencil on the guts of a grocery bag that we have lived. To heart disease and to history and to diabetes, to colon cancer and Alzheimer's, to maybe and to maybe not. For we must also learn to praise what may end up ugly in us. Listen. The future has given us so much worry we hide behind our well-behaved furniture, so why not dancing? And not the my neck wants to eat your neck dance tonight. Not the spicy unbuttoning with our backs turned, the nog champa giving itself to the air. Not the silk bandana and candle wax kind of dance with one of us latched to the headboard. Nor the hot buttered tongue undressing in the cave of the flaming mouth. No, tonight we shall not escape the festival of our pajamas. Yes, friends, this is the dance, and is perhaps our greatest adult discovery that not everything of these bodies we share between us must be sexual. It is the look at my hands and high knees climbing up an invisible ladder dance, a silent disco, a dance of imagined roller skates across a stage of lettuce and peeled bananas. The before bed put me in a tractor tire and roll me down a mountain dance. Because every hoedown could use a little mud, a little sawdust. Because the mammogram could go black. Because the mole they pulled from my shoulder could go malignant. Because our dance is what God is. That big, wet carnival burrito we've finally earned the bellies for. That laughter. Our blow-up mattress sitting in for a couch, and how when we climb aboard it whistles like retired pirates. What I mean is that every mustard stain my lady shouts out of a cardigan for me is what God is. That a smudge of goat's cheese on my nose, God is not drunkenness now, but dizziness. Coffee grounds and dirt, the garbage can stormed over, the bedroom abandoned, a man in a lime onesie bombing tomato juice all over the kitchen. A woman scooping up the found skin of a lost tangerine, and God is the dance of her thumbing it into his mouth like communion, into her own like blessed earth, for God is also the challenge. I won't spit it out if you won't. One last poem. We've reached the end. Thank you so much again for coming. This last one is called The Search Party's Prayer. Again, I'll have books on sale in the back over there, and I do take cards. This is called The Search Party's Prayer. This is for Ryan. That was a shameless plug. You were late, Jamie. The West Branch thing still gets me. The search party's prayer. Amen is an end I will not say, because I see Trafton's memory in sound now. And I am a wall on a cheap apartment to echo grief against. As if he were a crossbeam, I'd keep asking him how much more D minor he could hold. His lap steel and its sugary, slow, lazy groan barely curling an answer into the hallways I left open in chords for him. Into an empty patio in a bar of music, Trafton whispered a toothpick, a blade of hay, a suggestion, so much air he'd never go all the way into. Trafton chose to be the breeze, only heard by what it touches. The poem, too, tends towards silence. It has been like that with our lives. Trafton dead in California and my acoustic sleeping stringless in a Michigan shed. A silent musician is neither hero nor coward. There is being human to shoulder, we remember this. There are wakes to stand through, yes. And Trafton's end was Kenny and Jeff cutting him down from the ceiling as any end seems some other silence to look forward to. The band breaking up, the congregation dividing, each member gliding solo down their own tired little denouement. As an ear now, a left behind, I must go feeling around for the sounds, for the prayer of the next field where the leaning gate is wide open, fence unfinished, the melodies innuendoed like I imagine Trafton's always wanted them. Everywhere, feelings hang in the humid air like masks at a costume shop for me to try on and play through. And which one to choose for which song the world sings me. The siren way off, the evening plunging down, the train losing itself with distance. How many lifetimes I've gone out. Been up all night in my Plymouth looking. Lifetimes steamrolling and parachuting, whatever anyone's got if it gets me to wherever quicker. And I'm going to keep dragging my body through this. And I'm going to start loving the worst in myself. Call it going after the dead. Call it A-Town, call it ours, but whether I'm driving or you are, whether Trafton's on my lips or your dead are on yours, we're going to keep our restless heads in motion and the pedal pinned, because we came here for a vehicle to get us to God. We discovered our search was never finished with us, and we are only beginning to live. Thank you.